Ladies and gentlemen, I want to speak to you about a truth so profound, so piercing, that it shakes the very core of human understanding. It's a truth that will challenge your perspective and perhaps even cause you to see the battles you're facing in a completely different light. You see, life is not just about what we build, but also about what must be revealed. Sometimes the battles we face are less about our failure and more about uncovering the hidden plans of others, especially those whose intentions were never pure to begin with. There are people in your life who smile at you, but their hearts are far from you. They applaud you in public, but scheme against you in private. They may be close enough to touch you, but their hearts are filled with motives that aim to destroy what you've been called to build. Yet I want to tell you something powerful tonight. God is not blind to their schemes. He sees what you cannot see. He hears the conversations you were never invited to. And in His divine wisdom, He has a plan to expose every deception, every hidden agenda, and yes, even the weaknesses of those who think they are untouchable. What you must understand is that God does not expose the truth to shame you. He exposes it to prepare you. He doesn't reveal the weakness of the narcissist for your revenge, but for your victory. Because here's the thing, those who operate in pride and manipulation always have a weakness, and that weakness is hidden in their own character. The very thing they boast in will eventually be the thing that brings them down. But here's where it gets interesting. God doesn't rush this process. No, He lets them build their tower of deceit, lets them climb higher and higher, thinking they're unstoppable. And just when they believe they're untouchable, He allows the truth to come forth, and suddenly everything they've built comes crashing down. You see, the narcissist's greatest weakness is their belief that they're above accountability, above reproach, above correction. But God's plan is always to humble the proud and give grace to the humble. He will allow them to expose themselves, often without even realizing it. Their arrogance blinds them to the fact that their actions are being watched, their words are being weighed, and their intentions are being measured. But what about you? Why are you in this? Why has God allowed you to see their actions and endure their schemes? Could it be that He is using this experience to sharpen your discernment, to strengthen your character, and to prepare you for something greater? Could it be that this is not just about them, but about what He's building in you? Sometimes we are so focused on the storm, we forget that storms don't come to destroy us, they come to reveal us. They show us what we're made of and who is truly standing with us. So tonight I challenge you, don't focus on their actions, focus on God's plan. Don't be consumed by their schemes, be consumed by His purpose. Remember, no weapon formed against you will prosper, but every weapon has a maker. And the one who made the maker is the same one who fights for you. When God is on your side, it doesn't matter how strong they seem, how cunning they are, or how much power they think they hold. In the end, their weakness will be exposed, and you will walk away not only victorious, but wiser, stronger, and ready for what's next. This is not the time to be discouraged. This is the time to trust. Trust that the one who began a good work in you will complete it. Trust that He is revealing everything you need to know in His time and His way. And trust that what you lose in this process, He will replace with something greater. Stay faithful. Stay focused. And watch as God turns their deception into your deliverance. The plan is already in motion. Just wait and see. Rather than being consumed by their schemes, trust God's overarching plan and focus on fulfilling your purpose. Your goals be to God. This is easier said than done, isn't it? It's hard not to feel the sting of betrayal, the pain of manipulation, or the weight of someone actively working against you. These aren't just theoretical ideas. These are real battles, often fought in the quiet corners of your life, in the moments when you're left wondering, why is this happening to me? It's natural to want to retaliate, to want to confront, to want to expose their schemes for the world to see. But what if I told you that's not your job? What if I told you that focusing on their actions is exactly what they want? That their power lies in their ability to distract you from what God is calling you to do. You see, when you fixate on their schemes, you're playing their game. They thrive on your frustration. They want you to react emotionally, to lose focus, to expend energy trying to outmaneuver them. It's a trap, and it's one they've perfected. But God doesn't play by their rules, and neither should you. The moment you shift your focus away from them and back to God's plan, something powerful happens. You strip them of the very control they thought they had over you. Think about it. How many times have you stayed awake at night, replaying their words, dissecting their actions, trying to understand their motives? How much mental and emotional energy have you given to people who, if you're honest, don't even deserve a second of your time? That's the game they play. They want to live rent-free in your mind, not because they're powerful, but because they're powerless without your attention. Investing in each of them, setting a goal for them and living up to them. But here's the thing about God's plan. It doesn't need your defense. God doesn't need you to expose them. He's already working behind the scenes to bring everything to light. And the beautiful part, His timing is perfect. While you're worrying about what they're doing, He's positioning you for what's next. While you're caught up in the chaos they're creating, He's orchestrating a path that leads directly to your purpose. Let me remind you of something critical. Focusing on their actions won't stop God's plan for your life. It can't. Their schemes may delay, but they can never destroy. The only thing that can hinder God's work in your life is you. If you allow yourself to get stuck in the web they've spun. That's why it's so important to shift your gaze. Stop looking at them and start looking at Him. Now, this isn't to say you ignore reality. You're not called to be blind to what's happening around you. Discernment is key. And God often allows you to see just enough to understand the gravity of the situation. But discernment without direction leads to distraction. And distraction is exactly what the enemy wants. The narcissist, the manipulator, the deceiver. They want to keep you so preoccupied with their actions that you miss the bigger picture. But here's where it gets really interesting. When you take your focus off of them and place it on your purpose, you disrupt their entire plan. They're not prepared for someone who doesn't react the way they expect. They don't know what to do with someone who refuses to engage in their games. And as you stay faithful to God's calling, you begin to notice something remarkable. Their schemes start to unravel, not because of anything you've done, but because their foundation was never solid to begin with. God's plan is like a seed planted in good soil. It takes time to grow, but when it does, it produces fruit that no one can deny. The same is true for the schemes of others. They may sprout quickly like weeds, but their roots are shallow. And when the storm comes, and it always does, what's not rooted in truth will be exposed. But you don't have to worry about the storm. Your focus isn't on the wind or the waves. It's on the one who calms them. This is where the suspense lies, isn't it? You don't know when or how God will act, but you trust that He will. You don't know what He's preparing, but you sense that it's something greater than you could ever imagine. And so you wait, not passively, but actively. You stay rooted in prayer, anchored in His Word, and committed to the work He's given you. And as you do, something powerful begins to happen. You start to see the bigger picture. What once felt like an attack now looks like preparation. What once seemed like a delay now feels like divine timing. And the people who once held power over you, they start to fade into the background. Not because they've changed, but because you have. So I ask you, where is your focus? Are you consumed by their actions, or are you captivated by God's plan? Are you spending your energy trying to expose them, or are you investing your time in becoming who God has called you to be? The choice is yours. But the outcome is certain. When you align yourself with God's plan, no scheme, no betrayal, no manipulation can stand against you. The only question is, are you ready to step into that truth? Remember, no weapon formed against you will prosper, but every weapon has a maker. And the one who made the maker is the same one who fights for you. Believe it or not, our soul is always within us. It is not foreign. This statement is more than a promise, it's a declaration of divine authority. But let's pause and reflect on what it really means. No weapon formed against you will prosper. It doesn't say the weapon won't form. It doesn't say the weapon won't look threatening, feel painful, or even leave temporary scars. It simply promises that in the end, it will not achieve its intended purpose. Think about that for a moment. Every attack, every lie, every scheme that has ever been crafted against you has been designed to do one thing: destroy you. And yet, you're still here. Why? Because the weapon may form, but it cannot succeed. Not when God is in control. But let's take this deeper. The verse doesn't stop at the weapon. It calls our attention to its maker. Every weapon has a creator. Every scheme, every plot, every carefully calculated move against you originated in someone's mind. Someone planned it, shaped it, and aimed it in your direction. That's unsettling, isn't it? To think that there are people, maybe even those close to you, who have intentionally worked to undermine you, sabotage you, and even destroy what you're trying to build. Are you with me here? But here's where the suspense begins to build. While they were forming their weapons, God was forming something greater. While they were plotting in secret, He was working in the open. And here's the twist that they never see coming. The one who created them is the same one who created you. The one who knows every detail of your life also knows every detail of their plans. Nothing is hidden from Him. Not their intentions, not their conversations, not the traps they've laid in the dark. He sees it all. And not only does He see it, but He also controls it. Imagine that for a moment. The very person crafting a weapon against you is operating under the sovereignty of the God who fights for you. They believe they are in control, but they are merely players in a plan they cannot comprehend. Their weapons, no matter how cunning or cruel, are limited by the one who sets the boundaries. They can only go so far, and when God says enough, the weapon is rendered powerless. But let's not rush ahead. Let's sit in the tension of this moment. Because if you're honest, it doesn't always feel like their weapons are powerless. Sometimes it feels like their attacks are working. The lies spread, the manipulation succeeds, and the damage feels overwhelming. You might find yourself asking God, where are you? Why are you allowing this? And it's in those moments that your faith is tested. You see, God doesn't just stop the weapon from forming. He allows it to be crafted and sometimes even used. Why? Because it's not about the weapon. It's about what He's building in you. A weapon that doesn't prosper still has the potential to teach, to refine, and to strengthen. The pain you experience isn't wasted. It's part of the process. The attacks that were meant to break you are being used to build you. But here's the part that the enemy never anticipates. The weapon they formed against you often ends up being the very thing that exposes their own weakness. Think about it. How many times have you seen someone's attempt to harm you backfire? How many times has the truth come to light even when it seemed buried under layers of deception? That's not coincidence. That's divine intervention. And as the weapon fails, something remarkable happens. You begin to see just how powerless the enemy truly is. They may have formed the weapon, but they didn't form you. They didn't breathe life into you, didn't give you your purpose, and certainly don't hold your future in their hands. The one who does is still in control, and he's not intimidated by their plans. But let's take this even further. What if the weapon wasn't just meant to fail, but to reveal? What if God allows the weapon to be formed so that you can see exactly who is for you and who is against you? What if the very attack you're facing is His way of removing people, relationships, and influences that don't belong in your future? This is where the suspense lingers, because the story isn't over. The weapon has formed, the attack has come, but the outcome is still unfolding. And here's the most intriguing part. You don't know how or when, but you do know who. The God who fights for you is not silent, nor is he passive. He's strategic, intentional, always several steps ahead. While you're focused on the battle in front of you, he's already orchestrating the victory behind the scenes. So what happens next? What will become of the weapon formed against you? How will God turn it into something that works for your good? That's the mystery, isn't it? But one thing is certain. No weapon formed against you will prosper, not today, not tomorrow, not ever. And that truth alone should keep you watching, waiting, and trusting in the one who never fails. When God is on your side, it doesn't matter how strong they seem, how cunning they are, or how much power they think they hold. This statement is simple yet profound. It's one of those truths that can shift your entire perspective if you let it sink in. But let's take a moment to unpack it, because there's a depth here that most people miss. When you hear that God is on your side, it's easy to nod in agreement, but do you truly understand what that means? Do you grasp the weight of that reality? Imagine for a moment the strength of the people or forces working against you. They seem unstoppable, don't they? Their resources appear endless, their influence overwhelming, and their plans well executed. Perhaps it's a person in a position of power who seems untouchable, or maybe it's a group that has aligned itself against you, each member playing a role in your struggle. It could even be the circumstances that feel stacked against you, so intricately woven that you can't see a way out. Whatever it is, it feels like their strength is undeniable, their cunning unmatched, and their control absolute. But here's the truth that changes everything. No matter how strong they appear, they are not stronger than the one who fights for you. No matter how clever their schemes, they cannot outwit the one who knows the end from the beginning. No matter how much influence they wield, it pales in comparison to the sovereignty of God. And this is where the tension lies, because what you see in the natural often contradicts what you're to believe in the spiritual. Think about it. Their strength feels real because it's visible. You see their resources, their alliances, their plans unfolding in real time. And yet the strength of God can feel distant, intangible, and sometimes even silent. But here's the thing, just because you can't see his hand moving doesn't mean it's not at work. God doesn't operate within the limitations of human visibility. He works behind the scenes, orchestrating outcomes you can't yet fathom. Take a moment to consider how often appearances deceive. How many times have you believed someone or something was invincible, only to watch it crumble? History is full of examples of people who believed they were untouchable, whose power seemed absolute, but whose downfall came suddenly and without warning. And why? Because no one, no matter how strong or cunning, can stand against the power of God. But let's take this deeper. The strength they wield isn't just physical or material, it's often psychological. They use fear as a weapon, intimidation as a strategy. They want you to feel small, powerless, and overwhelmed. Their goal is to make you doubt yourself, your purpose, and even your faith, because if they can control your mind, they've already won half the battle. But here's where their strategy falls apart, when you realize that their power is only an illusion. You see, true power isn't in what you can see or touch. True power is in the unseen. The God who is on your side doesn't need visible strength to demonstrate his authority. He doesn't need to make a show of force to prove his sovereignty. His power is quiet, steady, and unshakable. It's the kind of power that can split seas, crumble walls, and silence storms all without breaking a sweat. And here's the twist they never see coming. The very strength they boast in is often the source of their downfall. Their confidence in their own power blinds them to their weaknesses. Their belief in their own cunning makes them underestimate the wisdom of God. Their reliance on their resources causes them to ignore the one resource they can never overcome: divine intervention. But what does this mean for you? It means that no matter how strong they appear, their strength is limited. No matter how cunning they seem, their plans are flawed. No matter how much power they think they hold, it is nothing compared to the power of the one who stands with you. And here's the suspenseful part. You don't know when or how God will move, but you know that he will. So what does their strength matter in the grand scheme of things? What does their cunning accomplish when God is always steps ahead? What does their power amount to when the creator of the universe holds all power in his hands? The answer is clear. It doesn't matter. But here's where it gets even more intriguing. What if their perceived strength is part of God's plan? What if He allows them to appear powerful so that their fall is even more dramatic? What if He uses their cunning to entangle them in their own schemes? What if their power is allowed to rise so that His power can be displayed even greater when it brings them down? The suspense builds here because you don't know how the story ends, but you know the author. You don't know how the conflict resolves, but you trust the one who holds the resolution. Their strength may seem overwhelming, but when God is on your side, their strength are nothing but a shadow compared to His light. And shadows, no matter how large, always disappear when the light shines. In the end, their weakness will be exposed, and you will walk away not only victorious, but wiser, stronger, and ready for what's next. This is the part of the story that no one sees coming. The moment when the carefully crafted image they've built begins to crack. The weakness that was so expertly hidden beneath layers of manipulation, pride, and deceit comes to light. But here's the thing, their weakness wasn't hidden from God. It was always a part of the plan. He knew it was there all along, and He allowed it to remain hidden just long enough for it to serve His purpose. Think about the power in that. The very thing they relied on, the strategies and schemes that gave them a sense of control, were doomed to fail from the beginning. Their arrogance, their belief in their own invincibility, blinded them to the truth. Their actions were always limited by God's sovereignty. They thought they were in control, but they were operating within boundaries they didn't even realize existed. But how does their weakness get exposed? It rarely happens all at once. It starts subtly, like cracks forming in a dam. At first they might not even notice. They think they're secure, untouchable, and beyond accountability. But as time goes on, those cracks grow. Little by little, their lies start to unravel, their plans begin to backfire, and their true character is revealed. And here's the part that keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know when or how it will, how. You might not even see the cracks forming at first. From the outside, it can look like they're succeeding, like their power is growing, like they're getting away with everything. But beneath the surface, something is shifting. The foundation they've built their schemes on is unstable, and it's only a matter of time before it collapses. This is where faith comes in. You have to trust that even when it looks like they're winning, they're not. Even when it feels like their plans are prospering, they're not. Their weakness is already working against them, even if it's not visible yet. You see, weakness isn't just about what they lack, it's about what they can't see. And the greatest weakness of the proud and manipulative is their inability to recognize the limits of their power. But what about you? What's happening in the meantime? While their weakness is being exposed, something is happening in you. You're not just sitting idly by waiting for their downfall. No, God is using this time to prepare you, to strengthen you, to make you wiser. The challenges you're facing, the battles you're fighting are not wasted. They're sharpening your discernment, building your resilience, and teaching you lessons that will serve you long after this battle is over. And here's the suspenseful part. You don't know what you're being prepared for. You don't know what's on the other side of this struggle. All you know is that God is getting you ready for something greater. The very experience that was meant to break you is becoming the foundation for your next season. The wisdom you're gaining now will guide you in decisions you haven't even faced yet. The strength you're building will carry you through challenges you can't yet see. But let's not lose sight of the other side of this story. As their weakness is exposed, it's not just about their fall, it's about your rise. You see, victory isn't just about defeating the enemy. It's about walking away from the battle stronger than you were before. It's about carrying the lessons with you, about becoming someone who is not easily shaken, not easily deceived, and not easily defeated. And here's the twist: their downfall often has more to do with their own actions than anything you've done. It's their pride that blinds them, their deceit that trips them up, their schemes that turn against them. God doesn't need you to fight them. He's perfectly capable of letting them unravel themselves. And as that happens, you'll find yourself standing in a position you never expected, one of wisdom, strength, and readiness for what's next. But what is next? That's the question, isn't it? You faced the battle, you've endured the attacks, and now you're on the verge of something new. The suspense lies in the unknown, in the realization that this victory is not the end of the story, but the beginning of a new chapter. Their weakness has been exposed, but your journey is just getting started. And the only thing more powerful than walking away victorious is walking away prepared for whatever comes next. What will that look like? How will the lessons you've learned shape your future? What opportunities will arise from the strength you've gained? The answers are unfolding piece by piece as God's plan continues to work in ways you can't yet see. But one thing is certain, you will not walk away from this empty-handed. You will walk away with more than just a victory. You will walk away transformed. The plan is already in motion. Just wait and see. There's something deeply compelling about those words, isn't there? The plan is already in motion. It stirs a sense of anticipation, a realization that even when you can't see it, something is happening. But what does it mean when God's plan is in motion? How do you trust in a process that feels invisible, slow, and at times even painful? Let's start with this. God's plan doesn't operate on human timelines or in ways that make immediate sense to us. It unfolds layer by layer, moment by moment, often in the most unexpected ways. And that's where the tension lies. Because while you're waiting, while you're praying, while you're enduring, it can feel like nothing is happening. But nothing could be further from the truth. Picture this, a seed buried deep in the soil. From the surface, it looks like nothing is happening. You water it, you care for it, but there's no visible evidence of growth. It's easy to get discouraged, to wonder if all your effort is in vain. But beneath the surface, something incredible is taking place. The seed is breaking open, its roots are spreading, and life is beginning to take shape. That's how God's plan works. What feels like silence is actually preparation. What looks like stillness is actually progress. But here's where it gets even more interesting. God's plan isn't just about you, it's also about everyone and everything connected to you. He's not just working on your behalf. He's orchestrating events, aligning people, and setting the stage for something far greater than you can imagine. And here's the kicker. You don't get to see the full picture until the time is right. That's the suspense, isn't it? You're living in the middle of a story and you don't know how it ends. You see the challenges, the opposition, the things working against you, and it's easy to wonder if the plan is working at all. But God's plans are never derailed by what you see. The chaos, the setbacks, the delays, they're not obstacles. They're part of the process. Consider this. While you're waiting, so much is happening that you're unaware of. God is positioning people, opening doors, and even closing others. He's preparing hearts, shifting circumstances, and ensuring that everything falls into place exactly when it's supposed to. And often, what seems like a delay is actually His way of ensuring that nothing is premature. But why the wait? Why the suspense? Why doesn't God just reveal the plan all at once? The answer lies in His wisdom. If you knew everything right now, it wouldn't just overwhelm you, it would also rob you of the growth that happens in the waiting. Waiting isn't just about time, it's about transformation. It's where you learn to trust, to listen, to discern. It's where your faith is stretched, where your character is refined, and where you're prepared for what's coming. And while you wait, the plan moves forward. The people who thought they had the upper hand, the ones who believed their schemes were foolproof, are unknowingly playing into the very plan they sought to disrupt. That's the beauty of God's sovereignty. He can take what was meant for harm and use it for good. The weapons they've formed, the traps they've set, are powerless against the unfolding of His purpose. But here's the part that keeps you on the edge of your seat. You don't know when the breakthrough will come. You don't know when the plan will fully reveal itself. All you know is that something is happening, even if you can't see it. And that knowledge, that sense of anticipation, is what keeps you moving forward. Think about it. Every great story has a moment of tension, a point where everything seems uncertain. The characters don't know how things will resolve, but the reader knows there's a plan in place. That's where you are right now. You're living in the tension. But God, the author of your story, already knows the ending. He's not improvising or making it up as He goes. The plan was set in motion long before you even realized there was a problem. And here's where it gets even more profound. The plan isn't just about resolving your current situation. It's about preparing you for what's next. Because this moment, as pivotal as it feels, is just one chapter in a much larger story. What God is doing now isn't just for today. It's laying the foundation for tomorrow. And you are that because you are moving towards calling. So you wait. Not passively, but actively. You stay faithful, you stay expectant, and you stay ready. Because the plan is already in motion, and when the time is right, you'll see it. The pieces will come together, the purpose will become clear, and the victory will be undeniable. Until then, you hold on to the truth that even in the waiting, God is working. And if He's working, then the plan is unstoppable. But what will it look like when it all comes together? What will you feel when the waiting turns into fulfillment? When the unseen becomes visible? When the plan reaches its culmination? That's the mystery, isn't it? And that's why you keep going. Because the best is yet to come. In the end, everything that has unfolded, the waiting, the challenges, the unseen battles, will make sense. The plan you couldn't fully grasp will be revealed as a masterpiece, woven together with precision and purpose. The weapons that were formed against you will lie broken, their power nullified, while the lessons you've learned and the strength you've gained will carry you into a future you couldn't have imagined. You see, God's plan is never about just surviving the storm. It's about thriving beyond it. It's about emerging from the fire refined, not burned, victorious, not defeated, wiser, not bitter. And when the plan comes together, and it will, you'll realize that every delay, every closed door, and every trial was necessary to bring you to the place where you're ready to step into what He has prepared for you. I know a lot of times we get stuck in uncertainty. So as you walk away from this moment, remember this: you are not alone, and you are not forgotten. The God who set the stars in the sky, who orchestrates the rising and setting of the sun, is the same God who fights for you. His plan is in motion, and His timing is perfect. Your responsibility is to trust, to stay faithful, and to keep moving forward. And when the breakthrough comes, when the pieces of the puzzle fall into place, you won't just see the hand of God, you'll feel His love, His protection, and His unwavering commitment to your destiny. You'll know without a doubt that He was with you every step of the way, guiding you, shaping you, and leading you towards something far greater than you ever dreamed possible. As you leave here today, hold on to this truth: God's plan is greater than anything that comes against you, and His power is stronger than any weapon formed against you. Stay faithful, stay expectant, and stay ready, because the plan is already in motion, and the best is yet to come.